Well, folks, this is some absolutely terrifying news. Marjorie Taylor Greene, everyone's favorite conspiracy theorist, Russian sympathizer, MAGA nutjob, just got even more power in the Trump administration as it was announced that she will now head the DOGE House Subcommittee overseeing Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's Department of Government Efficiency.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are apparently interviewing candidates to join the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as they call it, as they plan for drastic government cuts. A Georgia Republican and devout Trump loyalist, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has been tapped to chair a new oversight subcommittee that is apparently going to work with DOGE to investigate federal waste.
Yep, and here's what she told Fox News over the weekend of some of her dystopian plans to use and enforce her new powers here that read right out of a fascist playbook, all of which led to a rather heated clash today as a former Trump aide, David Urban, here on CNN, tried to argue that the exact fascist playbook Marge Greene is pulling from is not Project 2025. So here she is talking about some of her plans to defund government-funded media programs and Democrat propaganda like NPR. And if this doesn't sound like it could come straight out of North Korea, I don't know what does. And while you're watching this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
That's how I'll be separating things on the Oversight Subcommittee on DOGE. We'll be looking at everything from government-funded media programs like NPR that spread nothing but Democrat propaganda. We'll be going into grant programs that fund things like sex apps in Malaysia, toilets in Africa, all kinds of programs that don't help the American people. I want to talk to the people at the Pentagon and ask them why they can't find billions of dollars every single year and why they fail their audit. But not just that, Maria. I'd like to talk to the governors of sanctuary states and the mayors of sanctuary cities and have them come before our committee and explain why they deserve federal dollars if they're going to harbor illegal criminal aliens in their states and their cities. We're going to look in every single aspect, and we don't care about people's feelings. We're going to be searching for the facts, and we're going to be verifying if this is worth spending the American people's hard-earned tax dollars on.
Right, the facts don't care about your feelings, people. Just baselessly lay out accusations about Democrats harboring illegal immigrants. The Fox News propaganda and Russian puppet Jewish space laser lady call NPR propaganda, and the let's demolish the federal budget by giving tax cuts to billionaires like Elon Musk, who's in charge of government efficiency, while also slashing funding for Medicare people, are the ones worried about how efficiently your middle-class tax dollars are being spent. It makes perfect sense.
Joining us now are Democratic strategist Julie Roginski and CNN senior political commentator and former Trump campaign advisor David Urban. Julie, let me start with you first. What did you make of what Marjorie Taylor Greene there had to say about federal cuts and going after things like National Public Radio?
Look, I mean, if we were really serious about looking into waste, fraud, and abuse, which Republicans have been running on for many years, there are plenty of people, I may not agree with them, but there are plenty of people in the Republican Party who actually know a thing or two about where that waste, fraud, and abuse is buried. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not one of them. She's completely disinterested in policy. I don't think that she's ever looked at a budget. She's very good at being on TV and very good at sending out kind of an invective to piss off the other side and her own side as well. But this is not exactly somebody who I think is serious about reforming government. And I think it remains to be seen. The devil is always in the details as to what they come up with. Toilets in Africa, I hate to break it to the Congresswoman, are not going to do anything about our federal budget and balancing it. So I'd be very curious to see what programs they actually do want to take the axe to and how many people that will harm, if any, once they do that.
Yeah, I mean, and David, I mean, this is supposed to be about government efficiency, and you have this so-called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and now you have a congressional subcommittee that Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to oversee, that will oversee DOGE, which will oversee what the federal government. That doesn't sound very efficient.
Right, and as if that wasn't a big enough point out of MAGA hypocrisy straight to their face, former Trump aide Urban here wasted no time proving the fact that these conservatives have no idea about any of the intricacies of the budget they so want to slash.
I applaud everyone's effort, Democrats and Republicans, to try to make the government more efficient and save taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I mean, but David, when I was talking with Congressman Ro Khanna earlier on in this program, he says, you know, if you government efficiency is fine, but if you go after programs like Social Security and Medicare, Democrats are going to fight you on that.
Yeah, but those are non-discretionary, Jim. You can't touch those, right? So I don't know where they're going to listen unless you change the law.
I mean, you
right?
certainly
Medicare,
can touch
Medicaid.
them. You're not. I mean, it might not be politically advisable, but you certainly can touch them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't think that's within the scope of this mandate. With the DOGE folks are talking about. I think they're looking at trying to find. We're funding. Naked mole rat museums in South Dakota. I think they're trying to figure out where the silliness is in the federal government.
But
trying to trim that out. Look, it's a worthwhile cause.
But let me
Julie?
let me be very clear here. You have Project 2025, which is a piece of paper.
Oh,
no.
Jewel, come on,
But
stop.
come on, David, come on. I'll give you an example of what they want to cut. They want to put lifetime benefits on Medicaid, which effectively means that if you have cancer or you're on dialysis and you hit your limit, you're out. They want to put lifetime benefits on housing, which means that if you hit them, you're homeless. So there are things in this budget that are non-discretionary, David, that you talked about, that this administration has embraced, which is why they put Russ Vought in charge of this whole enterprise, to eradicate things that you think are inviolable, but in fact are very much in the scope of what Donald Trump ran on, and something that the people around him want to do. So It's not just a question of DOGE, it's a question of holistically what they're targeting. And they're not just targeting that rat mole museum, which God bless if that's all they want to do. But if you look at what they've talked about targeting, it is much broader than that. It actually affects people's health care. It actually affects where people live. And that's a problem. That's actually a seriously huge problem, not just for Democrats, but for some Republicans who I assume don't want to throw grandma off of dialysis because she hit her lifetime limit on her health care benefits.
Yeah, and it just gets worse from here. But before we dive into the further hypocrisy of this segment, Urban has clearly proven that he either doesn't know or doesn't care about what Trump plans to cut, and thus what the Department of Government Efficiency does. And if you think for a second that Marjorie Taylor Greene has even half of the policy knowledge that this chump does, then we're fucked. Because just watch this man try to naked mole rat weasel his way out of this claim that they're not going to implement the policy cuts and budget cuts of Project 2025.
Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025.
He put
Julie,
Russ
just listen
Vought
for
in
a second.
charge.
Julie,
I appreciate you bringing up. I appreciate you bringing up Daniel Dale. We'll have him on sometime soon. I hope. I don't know. He might be off having to
stop.
But
Jim, you need to say that Project 2025, the Trump administration, you need to acknowledge. Jim, you need to acknowledge that Donald Trump has disavowed Project 2025.
He put the architect of Project 25
I was just about to say,
charge of OMB.
Right, David, I was just about to say, Donald Trump out on the campaign trail time and again disavowed Project 2025, and yet he put one of the architects. But I will say he put one of the architects of Project 2025 in charge of the Office of Management and Budget. David.
That's two different things.
You and I have talked about this before. Why not just admit that the president-elect was not telling the truth out on the campaign trail when he said he had nothing to do with Project 2025. He had no knowledge.
Because he didn't.
I mean, all of that was just a snow job, right? That was just
Jim.
Right?
Why don't you just admit? Why don't you just admit that he has said that it doesn't?
That was a bigger.
It's not a blueprint
David,
for the
that was a bigger
administration.
turkey than what I'm going to have on the Thanksgiving table later this week. I'm sorry, but
come on,
come
on. Look, you guys are going to get 4 Pinocchios, both you and Julie, both. Come on, Washington Post, Daniel Dale.
For what? For what? For putting somebody in charge who wrote Project 2025 in charge of the
I think
Office
this is
of
what they
Management
call a
and
cell
Budget?
phone, David.
Right. And while the incredulous MAGA maniac is sitting there calling for fact checks about Project 2025 architects being put in charge, Marjorie Taylor Greene was literally using talking points from the manifesto itself.
You see, America's been really spoiled for a long time, but the federal government has been the worst abusers of the Americans' hard-earned tax dollars and the American people's trust. And so our subcommittee has a lot of work to do, and we'll be lining up these important hearings. And most importantly, any program, grant recipient, federal agency, they're going to have to come and tell us why they deserve the American people's trust and are allowed to spend their money.
It is frankly dystopian, and it is exactly what we said was going to happen, and the American people still voted for the shit show. So get ready for the subcommittee hearing on the efficiency of Jewish space lasers, folks. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you in the next one.